My mother looked across the table at Marcus and smiled. Not the warm kind, the sharp kind. We didn't raise you to marry down, sweetheart. The entire table went quiet. My father sipped his wine. My brother smirked into his napkin. And Marcus, he just set down his fork, wiped his mouth, and said 4 words. "Excuse me for a moment." Then he stood up and walked toward the back of the restaurant. I sat there, frozen, humiliated, angry, confused. What do you do when the people who raised you can't see what's right in front of them? I thought Marcus had just walked out on me. I had no idea he'd been 3 steps ahead the entire night. And I definitely didn't know what he was about to do next. Drop a comment. Where are you watching from and what time is it? Hit like if you've ever been underestimated. You're going to want to see how this plays out. Let me rewind. I grew up in what people call old money. Country clubs, charity galas, the right schools, the right zip codes, the right last names. My parents didn't just have wealth. They had a brand, and I was part of the product line. I learned early that who you marry matters more than who you love. At least that's what I thought until I met Marcus. It was at a nonprofit fundraiser. Most people were there to network. Marcus was there to volunteer. He was in the back room wearing an apron, packing meal kits for seniors. No tux, no name tag. No pitch. He asked me what I wanted to do with my life. Not what I studied. Not what my parents did. What I wanted. I didn't have an answer. That should have told me something. We started dating quietly. He worked in private finance, but he never name-dropped. Never flexed. Drove a modest car. Lived in a normal apartment. My family smiled at first. Then the questions started. What's his last name again? Where did he go to school? Does his father have a firm? The smiles got tighter. The dinners got colder. Marcus never talked about his work. I thought it was humility. Turns out it was strategy. And I was about to find out just how much I didn't know. The anniversary dinner was supposed to be a celebration. 30 years of my parents' marriage. A private room at one of the most exclusive restaurants in the city. I should have known better. My father raised his glass to toast, then turned to Marcus. So Marcus, remind us, what exactly do you do? It wasn't a question. It was a test. Marcus stayed calm. I work in acquisitions. My mother laughed. Not the polite kind. Acquisitions. How quaint. My brother leaned in. What kind of acquisitions? Like corporate buyouts? Or like flipping houses? The table snickered. Marcus didn't flinch. A bit of both. My father swirled his wine. Well, as long as you can keep up. Then my mother touched my hand. Darling, would you help me in the ladies' room? I followed her. I knew what was coming. She closed the door and turned to me. We've spoken to some people. Marcus's firm is small. Very small. He's a nice boy, but you're risking your entire future for someone who can't even afford a proper suit. I felt my chest tighten. He makes me happy. She sighed. Happiness is expensive. And if you marry him, you're out of the trust. Your father and I agree. I walked back to the table. Marcus was watching my face. He saw everything. I sat back down. Marcus reached for my hand under the table. His palm was warm, steady. My father ordered another bottle of wine. This one's on the house, he said, grinning. The owner's a personal friend. We're founding members here. He looked at Marcus like he'd just played a winning card. My mother turned to Marcus, voice dripping with fake kindness. You seem like a sweet boy, really, but my daughter deserves someone who can keep up. Someone with a legacy. Marcus nodded. He didn't argue. Didn't defend himself. Didn't fight. I felt the room tilt. Maybe they were right. Maybe I'd been naive. Maybe love wasn't enough. Then Marcus let go of my hand. He stood up. Excuse me. I'll be right back. And he walked toward the back hallway. My brother whispered, loud enough for me to hear. Think he's calling an Uber? I wanted to disappear. I thought Marcus had given up. I didn't know that Marcus kept every email, every contract, every receipt. That's just who he was. And I didn't know he'd just walked into the back office. 2 minutes later, Marcus came back. But he wasn't alone. The restaurant manager was with him. A tall man in a suit, expression tight and professional. Marcus was carrying a slim folder. He set it on the table. My father looked annoyed. What's this? Marcus opened the folder, pulled out a single document. He slid it across the table. You said you know the owner. Marcus said, voice calm. So do I. We have quarterly calls. The document was an equity disclosure. Marcus owned 18% of the restaurant group. Not this location. The entire group. 7 locations across 2 states. The manager nodded. Good evening, Mr. Chen. My father's face went pale. Marcus looked at him. You're not a founding member. You're a loyalty rewards member. There's a difference. The table was silent. My mother tried to laugh it off. Well, that's impressive for someone your age. Marcus didn't smile. Thank you. He didn't sit back down. My brother stared at the document like it might explode. I couldn't breathe. I'd never heard Marcus use that tone. Calm, cold, certain. And I realized something. He wasn't done. Not even close. My father recovered fast. He always did. He leaned back in his chair, swirling his wine like nothing had happened. 18%. That's a minority stake, son. Impressive, sure. But ownership and influence are 2 very different things. My mother nodded. Exactly. This doesn't change the facts, sweetheart. You need stability. A name, a real legacy. She turned to Marcus. You've clearly done well for yourself, truly, but you're still not from our world. My brother couldn't resist. Hey, Marcus, think you can get us a discount on the check? The table laughed, except me. I opened my mouth to say something, anything. Marcus touched my wrist, shook his head slightly. Not yet. My father leaned forward. Look, I respect ambition. But let's be honest. Silent partners don't run companies. They collect dividends and stay quiet. That's the deal. He pointed at the folder. You've got a nice little investment. Congratulations. But don't confuse a stake with a seat at the table. My mother folded her hands. We're talking about family legacy, Marcus. Generational wealth. Not stock portfolios. Marcus didn't blink. He just reached into the folder again and pulled out a second document. The air in the room changed. I could feel it. Something was about to break. Marcus placed the second document on the table. This one was newer, dated 3 days ago. It was a transaction record, a buyout. 62% controlling stake. My father squinted at it. What is this? Marcus's voice didn't rise, didn't waver. As of Monday, I'm not a silent partner anymore. I'm the principal owner, the managing member. The manager nodded again. The transition finalized this week. Mr. Chen now holds majority control. My mother's hand froze on her napkin. My brother's mouth opened, then closed. My father's face drained of color. Marcus looked at him. We're also updating the membership program. It's part of the restructure. I stared at the document. The numbers were right there. 62%. Controlling interest. Marcus had just bought the restaurant. Not as a flex. He'd done it 3 days ago. Before this dinner was even scheduled. He knew. He knew exactly what tonight was going to be. And he'd prepared. My hands were shaking. Not from fear. From something else. Relief, maybe, or pride, but I still didn't understand why he'd done it. Marcus didn't gloat. He didn't smile. He just looked at my father and spoke. I ran a background check before I proposed. Standard due diligence. It's what I do. My father's jaw clenched. That's privileged. It's public record, Marcus said. He didn't raise his voice. 3 liens. 2 mortgages. 1 credit line in default. Your firm owes $1.7 million. The house is underwater. My mother stood up. You have no right. I have every right to protect the person I love. Marcus turned to me. They don't care that I'm beneath you. They care that I won't pay their debts. My stomach dropped. I looked at my parents. Is that true? My father looked away. My mother's lips pressed into a thin line. Marcus kept going. You needed her married to someone you could leverage. A name you could borrow against. A network you could extract from. He closed the folder. I'm not useful to you. So I had to go. I felt numb. Everything I thought I knew about my family was a lie. The legacy. The wealth. The status. It was all smoke. And Marcus had seen through it from the beginning. Marcus stood up. He looked at my parents. I didn't buy this restaurant to humiliate you, he said. I bought it because it was undervalued and well managed. It's a good investment, he paused. But I'm also not interested in hosting people who can't show basic respect. He nodded to the manager. Please comp tonight's meal. and remove this family from the membership roster. The manager pulled out a tablet. Understood, Mr. Chen. My mother grabbed the edge of the table. You can't do this, Marcus looked at her. I already have. Then he turned to me. His face softened. If you want to leave with me, I'm parked outside. If not, I understand. He picked up the folder, and he walked toward the door. I sat there for maybe 3 seconds. Then I grabbed my purse. My mother reached for my arm. If you walk out that door, I pulled away. Then I walk out. I didn't look back. Not at my father. Not at my brother. Not at the table. I followed Marcus, and I didn't look back. Not once. We sat in his car. A modest sedan. Not the flashy coupe my brother drove. I was shaking. Marcus handed me his phone. On the screen was the full buyout term sheet. The restaurant group wasn't a trophy purchase. He'd been working on this turnaround for 2 years. He'd saved 62 jobs, renegotiated supplier contracts to support local farms, brought in ethical investors, launched a minority hiring initiative. It wasn't about revenge. It was about purpose. I scrolled through the documents. Then he showed me one more, a prenuptial agreement. He'd drafted it 3 weeks ago. It waived any claim to my family's money, any trust, any inheritance, every single dollar. I don't want their legacy, he said quietly. I never did. He looked at me. I wanted to make sure you knew you could choose me without losing yourself. I started crying. Not sad tears, relief. Through the restaurant window, I could see my family being escorted out. My father was arguing with the host. My mother's face was red. My brother was filming it on his phone, probably trying to spin some narrative for social media. The manager held the door open. Polite, firm, they left. Marcus wasn't watching. He was looking at me. Do you want to go home? I nodded. He started the car. As we pulled away, I saw my father standing on the curb, phone to his ear. Probably calling his lawyer? Or maybe a publicist. It didn't matter anymore. That was the last time I saw my family as family. It was the first time I saw Marcus as my future. And I've never doubted that choice. Not once. We got married 4 months later. Small ceremony. Close friends. No drama over the guest list. I changed my will. Removed myself from the family trust. Started therapy. It wasn't easy. Grieving a family that's still alive is a strange kind of pain. But I needed to do it. My parents tried reconciliation, twice. Both times came with conditions. We'll support you if Marcus signs a postnup. We'll pay for the wedding if you delay a year. I said no, not out of spite. Out of clarity, my brother sent a legal threat about defamation. It went nowhere. Everything Marcus said was documented. Public record. The restaurant group thrived. Marcus expanded into 2 more cities. Opened a test kitchen for culinary students. Launched a financial literacy nonprofit for first-generation professionals. People who grew up like he did. Brilliant, capable, underestimated. I joined the board. Not as his wife, as a partner. I reconnected with one cousin about a year later. She apologized. Really apologized. No conditions. We have coffee sometimes. The rest of the family stayed silent. A year after the dinner, my mother sent a birthday card. No return address. Just her handwriting. I didn't open it. Not out of hate, out of peace. I'd built something new. Something mine. And I didn't need her approval anymore. Last month, we launched the Foundation's first scholarship class. 40 recipients, full ride. Mentorship included. Marcus gave the opening speech. He didn't mention that dinner. Didn't mention my family. He talked about resilience. About seeing people for who they are, not what they're worth. I stood in the back and watched. And I realized something. Belonging isn't about blood or status. It's about respect. And sometimes, the person who loves you most is the one willing to show you the receipts. So here's my question for you. Has anyone ever surprised you by being more than they seemed? Or have you been the one underestimated? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. And if this story resonated, hit subscribe. There's more where this came from. One last thing. This is a fictionalized dramatization for entertainment purposes. Not legal or financial advice. But the lesson is real. You can't buy respect, but you can choose who deserves yours.